A Bankai is the final release of a Shinigami Zanpakuto. It represents mastery over one's power. The Bankai transformation is one of the most iconic within all of anime and manga, as fans wait patiently for their favourite characters to finally reveal their Bankai. During the Thousand Year Blood War arc, several fan favourite characters had the opportunity to showcase their Bankai, and even during the anime adaptation of the Thousand Year Blood War arc, we're getting some all new Bankai reveals that weren't included within the manga. With all of these changes and updates, I think it's time to finally make a 2025 version of my top 10 Bankai list. This list will contain Bankai with incredible raw destructive capability, some Bankai with broken hacks abilities, and others that possess some insane utility. And you may even see some Bankai that have a combination of all of these factors. For this top 10 video, I'll be considering all Bankai that have appeared within the manga, the light novels, and the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime. So this does mean that we're going to be getting some amazing anime exclusive Bankai that we'll be discussing in this video. So without further delay, let's dive into my updated 2025 top 10 Bankai list. Before the video begins, only 20% of the people who actually watch my content are subscribed to the channel. If you enjoy these videos, then subscribe and stick around for more content just like this. Now let's get back to the topic of the video. We're kickstarting our list with the number 10 spot, which goes to the Bankai of the first and original Kenpachi, Unohana Retsu. We only had a brief glimpse of the power of her Bankai while she was training Kenpachi. From the very little that we see, it speaks volumes about the deadly potential of Minazuki. When it is activated, it transforms the battlefield into a realm which is flooded with what appears to be blood. The Thousand Year Blood War arc anime fleshes this out further, revealing how this red tide of blood isn't just for show, it's an extension of Unohana herself. The blood that she releases has multiple functions that work at the same time. It acts as a corrosive agent against her opponents, it also extends the range of her attack drastically, and most importantly, it grants her the ability to instantly regenerate. What makes Minazuki really fearsome is how perfectly it complements Unohana's identity as a warrior. She was of course the first one to hold the title of Kenpachi, and she was dubbed as the most diabolical criminal within the history of the Soul Society before she had joined the original Gotei 13. Her Bankai creates what essentially becomes an inescapable deathmatch arena. She is able to fight without any restraint, knowing that any wounds that she sustains will be healed immediately, while at the same time she wears down her opponent through direct combat and via the corrosive properties of the blood that she releases. Minazuki is not a Bankai that was designed for large-scale fights or to take on multiple opponents at the same time. It was literally made for the ultimate one-on-one fight where only one combatant will walk away alive. The full extent of Minazuki's abilities are still shrouded in mystery, but I think that this is very fitting for a character as complicated as Unohana, with her dual personality of Unohana Retsu and Unohana Yachiru. The very fact that her Bankai had pushed Kenpachi to his absolute limits, allowing him to release those subconscious limitations, this feat alone justifies Minazuki being placed within this top 10 list. And even more so than any of that is the perfect blood-soaked Bankai which suits the original Kenpachi. Moving on to the 9th position on our list, it's the Bankai which challenges the very concept of victory in battle. I'm of course talking about Shuhei Hisagi's Fushi no Kojyo. While it was first revealed within the Can't Fear Unworld light novels, there are rumours that it could be included within Core 4 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime. This Bankai is nothing short of revolutionary in how it functions within combat. Fushi no Kojyo manifests as an enormous black orb of entangled chains which hover ominously above Hisagi. He also has a noose-like chain which is wrapped around his own neck, and when his Bankai is activated, these chains extend outward, trapping his opponent and forcing them to partake in the rules of battle laid out by his Bankai. The visual imagery associated with Hisagi's Bankai is haunting, as you have two combatants connected by chains of fate who are both unable to escape each other's company until the end. What elevates Hisagi's Bankai to be worthy of the top 10 status is its fundamental ability, as it creates a shared pool of Reiatsu between Hisagi and his opponent. From this Reiatsu, any injuries that are sustained by either opponents are instantly healed. This creates what might be the ultimate stalemate. as neither Hisagi or his opponent can die as long as their combined spiritual energy remains. In essence, Hisagi transforms the battlefield into a realm of stagnation where the very concept of death itself is temporarily suspended. The brilliance of Fushi no Kojyo lies in how perfectly it aligns with Hisagi's philosophy of fear. Throughout Bleach, Hisagi maintains the point of view that a warrior should embrace fear rather than reject it, and they should use fear as a tool for survival rather than as an obstacle to overcome. Hisagi's Bankai is the ultimate expression of this belief, as it doesn't seek to overpower opponents, but it instead forces them to confront the reality that sometimes there is no victory to be had in a fight. When this Bankai is used against opponents who fear death, this becomes an almost unbeatable psychological weapon. The more powerful the foe, the more advantageous this Bankai becomes, as their superior Reiatsu only contributes more to the shared pool of Reishi which sustains both fighters. Even gods would find themselves trapped within Hisagi's eternal standoff. This Bankai does have some significant drawbacks. While yes, any wounds that are sustained will heal instantly, unfortunately the pain felt from those wounds will still remain. Hisagi endures an insane amount of pain when he uses his Bankai against the hybrid being Hikone, and he only gets through it via his sheer willpower. Fushi no Kojyo doesn't grant Hisagi with a conventional path to victory, as it simply prevents his opponent from winning. His Bankai transforms the entire battle into a test of endurance and resolve, rather than a fight centered around power, as both combatants are evenly matched with their shared pool of Reiatsu, which gradually depletes as the fight progresses. In a universe like Bleach, which is dominated by characters with insane levels of raw power, Fushi no Kojyo stands apart as a humbling reminder that true strength sometimes lies in accepting one's own limitations rather than transcending them. By overcoming one's fear of death and having the willpower to endure hours of pain while you are trapped in the ultimate stalemate courtesy of Hisagi's Bankai. Fushi no Kojyo isn't about who can hit harder or move faster, it's about who has the resolve to endure the longest in a battle where neither side can truly win. In the number 8th position, we have the long-awaited Bankai reveal of Sakashimi Yokoshimi Happo Fusagari, which belongs to none other than Shinji Hirako. This Bankai was first revealed within the Can't Be Your Own World light novels, and it was finally animated in a anime original sequence in Core 2 of the Thousand Year Blood War arc anime. This Bankai showcases a devastatingly inventive concept. When it is activated, Sakanade transforms as the Zanpakuto gains a ring at its tip matching the one at its hilt. We then see a gigantic golden flower bloom underneath Shinji as it completely encloses him within its protective petals. From within this safe zone, a pink mist diffuses all across the battlefield, and it carries an effect which essentially is the ultimate extension of his Shikai's disorientating properties, but there is a brilliant twist. Where his Shikai inverts spatial perception, Shinji's Bankai inverts something far more fundamental. It allows him to alter his opponent's perception of friend and foe. Everyone who is caught within the influence of his Bankai suddenly perceives allies as mortal enemies and actual enemies as trusted comrades. We witness the terrifying efficiency of his Bankai when an entire squad of Quincy Sword Art tears itself apart within seconds, as each soldier is led to believe that they are surrounded by enemies. What makes this Bankai impressive is that it's not just confusing Shinji's opponents, it's actually weaponizing the concept of trust. The stronger the bonds between comrades, the more devastating the betrayal becomes when those bonds are inverted. Yet this power comes with severe limitations which prevent it from ranking higher on this list. Shinji's Bankai affects everyone indiscriminately except Shinji himself, making it very dangerous to use around allies. Additionally, his Bankai is completely ineffective in one-on-one situations, as it essentially renders Shinji's Bankai powerless in these situations, and against opponents with weak allegiances or exceptional self-control, its effectiveness diminishes massively. Although saying this, very few Bankai possess the potential to single-handedly dismantle entire armies without their wielder lifting a single finger. This is why Shinji secures the number 8th position on this list, as he definitely possesses one of the most formidable Bankai within all of Bleach. In the number 7 position, we have a truly jaw-dropping Bankai evolution. During the 1000-Year Blood War arc, Toshiro Hitsugaya's completed Daiguren Hyorinmaru is revealed, as we learn that for years fans had misinterpreted those floating ice petals behind Hitsugaya, what we assumed was a countdown to his Bankai's deactivation, which we had perceived as a limitation reflecting his youth and inexperience. This was in fact a countdown to something far more extraordinary. When the final petal falls from Hitsugaya's Bankai, his true power awakens, as it physically ages him into his adult form, and in this body he is able to access the full scope of his Bankai's abilities. This visual adult transformation is striking, but what truly elevates his Bankai to the 7th spot in this list is its revolutionary freezing capabilities. In his matured state, Hitsugaya demonstrates absolute mastery over ice, as he can flash freeze massive objects with just mere gestures. We see this when he casually freezes not only Gerard Valkyrie's shield, but even the air currents behind it. However, the true game changer is what happens to whatever Daiguren Hyorinmaru encases in ice. As Hitsugaya himself explains when he slices through Gerard's supposedly indestructible sword Hoffnung, that all things frozen by my Bankai have their functions suspended. This power extends beyond physical properties, but to even conceptual ones, as even abstract concepts like miracles can be frozen and rendered useless. Hitsugaya's Bankai ability to completely nullify supernatural powers through freezing represents one of the most incredible forms of ability negation that we've seen in the series. This, combined with his overwhelming offensive and defensive capabilities, the mature version of Daiguren Hyorinmaru earns its place within the top 10 Bankai list. The only limitation which prevents it from ranking higher is that Hitsugaya can't yet maintain this mature form indefinitely. Considering his reputation as a prodigy and his unprecedented growth throughout the series, I believe that this limitation may not last for that long, especially if Hitsugaya has had enough time to master this evolved version of his Bankai, which may be the case if Kubo continues the manga via the Hell arc, which is set 12 years after the events of the 1000-Year Blood War arc. In the number 6 spot, we have the raw, destructive fury, which is Kinpachi Zaraki's unnamed Bankai. This was revealed during the insane battle against Gerard Valkyrie. His Bankai transforms Kinpachi into a demonic, Oni-like entity with red skin and horns, as he embodies pure, unrestrained violence. When Kinpachi's Bankai is activated, it unleashes a torrent of spiritual energy, which is so immense that it destroys nearby structures instantly. Kinpachi's skin turns a deep red color with black markings which are carved across his face, and these demonic horns which sprout from his forehead. His Zanpakuto, which in its Shikai state takes the form of a massive cleaver, becomes shorter but more jagged, a perfect reflection of the concentrated violence which it now embodies. What truly sets Kinpachi's Bankai apart is its singular focus on amplifying Kinpachi's already legendary physical strength to insane heights which border on the absurd. We witness Kinpachi casually swatting aside the colossal Gerard as if he was an insect, ripping off the Quincy's gigantic arm with nothing but his teeth, and perhaps his most impressive feat is perfectly cutting Gerard in half with a single strike from his blade. The speed enhancement granted from his Bankai is equally as impressive, as in the fleeting moments between Gerard's miraculous regenerations, Kinpachi lands countless devastating blows, which suggest that his Bankai grants him movement capabilities which can rival the most specialist of speed-based fighters like Yoruichi or even Ichigo in his Tensar Zangetsu state. Kinpachi's overwhelming power comes with some equally devastating drawbacks. When his Bankai is activated, Kinpachi surrenders all of his reasoning and mental sanity, as he becomes a mindless monster incapable of distinguishing friend from foe. His own body begins to break down under the strain of his insane power, as it literally tears itself apart the longer that his Bankai is activated. After just a few exchanges with Gerard, we witness Kinpachi's right arm almost disintegrate from the inside out. The full potential of Kinpachi's unnamed Bankai remains unknown, as we are left to wonder what would have happened if Kinpachi's body was able to withstand withstand the insane power of his Bankai for a bit longer. What unimaginable destruction would we have seen? In the number 5 spot on our list, it's the nightmarish Bankai of Head Captain Shunsui Kyoraku. Unlike the flashy, power-based Bankai that we've seen so far, Katen Kyokotsu Karamatsu Shinju transforms the entire battlefield into a terrifying theater production which tells the tragic tale of doomed lovers. When Shunsui's Bankai is activated, black ink-like tendrils extend outward from him as the Zanpakuto spirits from his jewel blade manifest behind him. The air of the surroundings becomes filled with this chilling, desolate atmosphere, with the sky segmented into eerie yellow squares like a kabuki stage play. These elements are not just for decoration, as Shunsui is literally setting the stage for what may be the most psychologically terrifying Bankai in all of Bleach. What makes Shunsui's Bankai fearsome is its inescapable progression through 4 deadly acts. Each act builds upon the previous one as he weaves together a story that inevitably ends in death. The first act of his Bankai creates a shared wound effect between himself and his opponent, forcing the opponent who attacks first to receive the same injuries that they have just inflicted. The second act of his Bankai manifests bleeding black spots across his opponent's body, weakening them further, and by the third act, Shunsui and his opponent are submerged in an endless sea as they are trapped until one of them runs out of Reiatsu and drowns. Should the opponent somehow survive these trials, the final act of Shunsui's Bankai ends with a white thread which severs the opponent's head completely. What elevates Shunsui's Bankai into the top 5 of this list is its conceptual nature. Thanks to this, Shunsui was able to affect the seemingly untouchable, godly Lil Barrow in his holy form. The only downside of this Bankai is its indiscriminate range of effect, which risks harming allies, hence why Shunsui considers his Bankai as a desperate last resort. Because Karamatsu Shinju inflicts 4 unavoidably progressive acts onto its opponent, and thanks to its conceptual power which transcends normal defenses, this is why I believe Shunsui's Bankai firmly secures its position in the 5th spot in this list. Taking the number 4 spot on our list is the deceptively elegant but terrifying power of Kanonberaki Benihime Aratame, which is the highly awaited Bankai reveal of Kisuke Urahara. While most Bankai manifest as weapons or elemental forces, Urahara's Bankai reveals itself as a towering, red-robed woman with mannequin-like arms and intricately braided hair, as she appears behind Urahara like a sort of divine presence. What makes his Bankai extraordinary isn't the raw destructive power that it possesses, but rather its fundamental ability to restructure reality itself. Anything within the range of Urahara's Bankai can be disassembled and reassembled according to Urahara's specifications. This is a power that borders on the realms of divine creation. We witness this when Urahara casually restores his own eyes after they were destroyed by Askin's Gift Ball Deluxe, as he literally restructures new functioning organs into existence. Urahara's ability to restructure isn't just limited to healing, as in his desperate battle against Askin, he showcases its offensive capabilities as he remotely restructures his own arm in order to grant himself supernatural strength. Perhaps his most impressive feat is him being able to create a tunnel through Askin's impenetrable gift break, as this allows Grimmjow to launch a surprise attack against the Sternritter. The true terror of Kanonberaki Benihime Aratame lies in its wielder's mind. In the hands of the Soul Society's greatest genius, this Bankai elevates itself to a level which could be considered reality hacking. Urahara is potentially able to restructure enemy abilities at their foundational level, as he can alter the battlefield's composition or even enhance his own physical capabilities beyond normal limits. Now, with all of these positives, Urahara's Bankai does have its own limitations which we are aware of. The effects of his Bankai revert once the Bankai is deactivated, and targets must remain within its effective range of attack, but these limitations seem minor compared to its near limitless possibilities. For somebody like Urahara, who has always relied on preparation and adaptability, the fact that he possesses a Bankai which allows on-the-fly reality editing, it is literally the perfect expression of Urahara's essence as both a scientist and a fighter. This perfect synergy between wielder and ability combined with its insane versatility secures Urahara's Bankai position in the number 4 spot on our list. We are finally in the realms of the top 3 Bankai, and taking the 3rd position on this list is none other than Shirafude Ichimonji, the ancient and mystical Bankai power of Ichibei Hyosobe, the leader of the Zero Division. This incredible power is so old that it predates the very term Bankai itself, as Ichibei refers to his Bankai as Shinouchi, which translates to true strike. This fact alone reveals the status of this Bankai as perhaps the very first Bankai to have ever existed within the history of the Soul Society. In its sealed state, Ichibei Zanbakuto Ichimonji appears as a massive calligraphy brush. Its Shikai coats opponents in black ink as it literally erases their names. Within Bleach, names are not just labels, they are the fundamental essence of everything. So when you are stripped of your name, Ichibei is literally removing your power, identity, and function. So where Ichibei's Shikai takes away from his opponent, Shirafude Ichimonji, the Bankai, gives something back to them. When the Bankai is activated, the brush's dark bristles transform as they embody an all-new pure white energy instead of the black ink. This allows Ichibei to bestow upon his opponent an all-new name. We witness this reality warping ability during Ichibei's battle with Yhwach. After he covers the Quincy King with the black ink of his Shikai, Ichibei activates his Bankai and renames his opponent to Black Ant. This isn't just a title that he's bestowed upon Yhwach, it's a fundamental transformation which reduces the strength, durability, and spiritual power of him to that of a Black Ant, despite all of the godlike capabilities that he had possessed earlier in the fight. If you step back and think about the implications of this ability, it's truly staggering. Theoretically, Ichibei could rename an opponent to something like Fragile Glass or Still Water or even Dead Flesh. This would instantly impose those properties upon them. Ichibei also has the potential to bestow positive names onto his opponent, though we've never seen this in action. This ability to redefine reality itself places Shirafude Ichimonji amongst the most conceptually broken powers in all of Bleach. As with all of the Bankai that we've talked about, this one also has its limitations, as this Bankai appears to be most effective against opponents who already are stripped of their names by his Shikai, creating a two-step process which offers opponents a narrow window of opportunity. Additionally, beings of extraordinary spiritual pressure or unique constitutional abilities may be able to resist the effects of his Bankai, as Yhwach eventually did with the powers of the Almighty. Even when you consider all of this, there is no denying that Shirafude Ichimonji represents one of the most incredibly conceptual powers in the entire Bleach universe. This is a power that is truly fitting amongst the top 3 Bankai that I've selected for this list. We are nearing the all-important number 1 spot, but before that we have the 2nd position, which goes to none other than the Bankai of Senjumaru Shutara. The activation of her Shatatsu Karagara Shigarami no Suji results in sending ripples of power throughout all of the 3 realms. A cosmic tremor is felt across Hueco Mundo, the Soul Society, and even the world of the living, and this is a testament to the incomprehensible spiritual pressure which is required to activate this Bankai. Now, this Bankai activation was actually not seen within any of the light novels or the manga. It is literally exclusive to the 1000 Year Blood War arc anime, as it was revealed towards the end of Core 2. When Senjumaru unleashes her Bankai, darkness surrounds the battlefield as an ancient torii gate rises from the ground. This structure expands into a magnificent golden loom which produces an endless stream of red fabric as she traps her opponents within a separate dimension which is under Senjumaru's absolute control. Kubo really outdid himself when he designed Senjumaru's Bankai, as the visual spectacle alone is awe-inspiring. But this change in the battlefield is merely a hint at the true terror that this Bankai represents. What makes Senjumaru's Bankai exceptional is its unprecedented versatility. Through her weaving technique, Senjumaru crafts 6 distinct textiles which trap each of her opponents perfectly, and each textile is tailored to counter the specific abilities of her opponent. For Lil Barrow, he is trapped in a mirror chamber which reflects his attacks back at him. For Askin, he is crushed in a Iron Maiden which bypasses his immunity. Hashward is surrounded in a eternal inferno. Gerard finds himself in a freezing prison which halts his miracle. Pernida is drowned in black sand. And lastly, Uryu finds himself up against a Ashvalin-like trap which drains his life force. The mere fact that Senjumaru's Bankai was able to simultaneously neutralize 6 of the Schutzstaffel demonstrates a level of tactical brilliance and adaptability which is unmatched by virtually any other Bankai. The fact that Yhwach's elite guard can be systematically countered by a single Bankai speaks volumes about its raw power. While the Schutzstaffel were able to eventually escape from their fabric prison, likely through Uryu's antithesis shrift ability, the sheer fact that Senjumaru could imprison them all at the same time solidifies her Bankai as one of the most fearsome in all of Bleach. Before I reveal the number 1 spot, let's have a look at some of my honourable mentions. Now these are incredibly powerful Bankai which narrowly missed making it on our list. These weapons deserve recognition for their extraordinary capabilities even if they didn't quite make it onto our list. First up we have So'o Zabimaru, which is Renji Ibarai's true Bankai. After discovering that his previous Bankai was a stunted, incomplete form, Renji's training with Ichibei in the Royal Palace had awakened a dramatically improved version of his Bankai. What makes So'o Zabimaru impressive is its versatility. Beyond basic physical enhancement, it grants Renji access to insane techniques like Zaga Teppo, which we saw obliterate Mask D Masculine with terrifying efficiency. The Bankai can also transform between different configurations depending on the combat situation, as we had seen during his anime-exclusive fight against Uryu in Core 3. So'o Zabimaru firmly establishes Renji as a captain-class opponent by the final arc, but it doesn't quite reach the reality warping potential of the other Bankai on this top 10 list. Next we have Senbon Zakura Kageyoshi. This is perhaps the most visually iconic Bankai in the entire series. Byakuya's signature technique transforms thousands of blade fragments into a storm of cherry blossom petals which can attack from every conceivable angle. What's particularly impressive is how Byakuya's mastery continues to evolve throughout the series, as he develops new forms with his Bankai like Senke, Goke, and eventually Ika Senjinka, which was able to devastate an opponent as invincible as Gerard Valkyrie. After Byakuya heals and spends some time at the Royal Palace, his control over a Zenbon Sakura has become so refined that Asnot had initially mistook his Shikai for his Bankai. Byakuya is a perfect example of the continuous evolution of power through personal growth and understanding one Zanpakuto, which each Shinigami has to do. Another Bankai which almost made it onto this list is Konjigi Ashisogi Jizo Matai Fukuin Shotai. This is the evolved iteration of Mairi's Bankai, as this brings a terrifying level of adaptability onto the battlefield. When Mairi has gathered sufficient data against his opponent, Mairi's modified Bankai can spawn a secondary entity specifically designed to counter that opponent's particular abilities. We witnessed this in action against Pernida, where Mairi created a counter agent which could temporarily resist the compulsory. What kept this Bankai from making it onto this top 10 list is the fact that it needs to gather data first. Mairi must survive long enough to analyze his opponent and then deploy the appropriate counter against them. I think one Bankai which definitely deserves some special recognition for this list is Tensal Zangetsu. Ichigo's true Bankai is revealed during the 1000-Year Blood War arc, but because we've seen remarkably very little of what it can actually do, but what little that we do see suggests that his Bankai possesses an extraordinary power. Ichigo's Bankai definitely would have made it onto this list if we actually had an idea as to what power it possesses. It's easily a top 3 Bankai in my opinion, for the sole fact that Yhwach was so afraid of it that he had to reach into the future and destroy Ichigo's Bankai before he even had a chance to use it. And this was while Yhwach was at the absolute height of his power after he had absorbed the Soul King. And then later, when Ichigo does have an opportunity to utilize his restored Bankai, he delivers what should have been a killing blow with a single golden Getsuga Tensho strike cutting the Soul King empowered Yhwach into two. Yhwach himself acknowledged that he actually died in that moment, only surviving by using the Almighty to rewrite his own death. This Bankai would have definitely made it on this list if only we had seen more of it and if we had some confirmation as to what it actually does. I do believe via some anime exclusive scenes within Core 4, we will have some expanded details on Ichigo's true Bankai, so hopefully we can look forward to that and we can adjust this list and include Ichigo's Tensei Zangetsu into the top 10. My final honorable mention is Rukia Kuchiki's Haka no Togame. This is a breathtaking Bankai which deserves a special mention. The visual transformation that it results in alone is impressive, as Rukia's kimono, hair and blade all change into this pristine white as she embodies the winter itself. With her Bankai, Rukia was able to instantly freeze and shatter Asnod, a Sternritter who had previously defeated Byakuya. The main limitation of this Bankai is Rukia's own vulnerability while she is using it, as her body becomes so cold that any movement risks shattering herself. However, as she masters this Bankai, this limitation will definitely diminish, potentially elevating Rukia's Bankai into the top ranks of this video. Who knows, we may well get to see this during the events of the Hell Arc, which are set 12 years after Rukia had used her Bankai, and we know that it takes up to 10 years to master a Bankai. So now that we've talked about the honorable mentions, it's time to discuss the number one Bankai on this list. I've no doubt that all of you will have predicted this. The number one spot goes to none other than Zanka no Tachi, the Bankai of the late great head captain Yamamoto. This isn't just a sword, it's a force of apocalyptic nature that makes other legendary abilities look like circus tricks. Imagine a Bankai that is so powerful that its mere activation begins to evaporate the very world around it. The unremarkably weathered and worn Zanpakuto conceals the heat of a million suns. Zanka no Tachi represents the absolute peak of destructive potential. Its four techniques that it possesses aren't just attacks, as they all pose an existential threat. Zanka no Tachi East threatens to erase anything that is touched by the tip of Yamamoto's blade, as it renders even the most strongest of defenses utterly useless. Zanka no Tachi West transforms Yamamoto into a living inferno, generating temperatures so intense that even being in close proximity to him would instantly incinerate you. Now the true terror emerges with Zanka no Tachi South. Here, Yamamoto can summon an army of corpses, which is made up of all of the opponents that he has killed throughout the hundreds of years that he has been alive. This transforms the battlefield into a nightmare, as Yamamoto was able to summon the fallen comrades of Yhwach as he desecrates their corpses for the sake of revenge. While the three stages of his Bankai that we've talked about so far are equally impressive and insane, nothing beats Zanka no Tachi North. This is the manifestation of pure concentrated destruction. With this, Yamamoto is able to deliver a singular slash which is so overwhelming that it can destroy heaven and earth at the same time. What truly elevates Zanka no Tachi isn't just its raw power, but how terrified Yhwach and Aizen were to face off against it. They didn't just respect the Bankai of Yamamoto, they actively developed countermeasures against it. Wonderwise was engineered specifically to neutralize Yamamoto's flames, while Yhwach resorted to using a doppelganger to fight against Yamamoto, as he had then arrived after the Bankai was deactivated in order to steal it. Out of all of the abilities and transformations that exist within Bleach, Zanka no Tachi truly stands out as the most powerful and fearsome in my opinion. But yeah, that's just my opinion. This was my list assessing all of the Bankai that we have seen within the manga, anime, the light novels. And no doubt, as the lore of Bleach continues to expand via more anime exclusive scenes which we can expect within Core 4, and if the manga continues via the Hell Arc, I definitely think we'll see new Bankai as well as evolutions of existing Bankai, which would result in the entire reshaping of this ranking list. This has already proven to be true with the anime exclusive Bankai editions that we've seen so far, so I really am looking forward to seeing whatever Kubo has in store for us in the future. Now do let me know all of your thoughts about this top 10 Bankai list. Do you agree with Yamamoto claiming the top spot, or would you have arranged things differently? I would love to know all of your own personal top 10 lists, so do continue the discussion in the comments. And lastly, thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I cannot wait to see you in my next Bleach video.
A massive thank you goes out to all of my amazing Patreon supporters for helping to make this video possible. If you also want to support the channel and see your name in the end of my videos, then check out my Patreon, which has loads of perks like early video access and so much more. Thank you for sticking around till the end of the video, and whatever you contribute will mean a lot to me.